Oi boys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we are once again talking about Rugby Challenge 4, and in today's video it'll be somewhat of a review, not really. I just want to briefly give you my thoughts and opinions on the early access release or the first build of Rugby Challenge 4, much like what I did with Rugby 20, so forgive me if it's all over the place, but yeah, let's get started. I guess we'll start off with the most important aspect of any video game, and that's gameplay and how does it play. To be pretty brief, if you have played any Rugby Challenge game in the past, you will feel right at home with Rugby Challenge 4. So Wicked Witch have come out and said that their primary focus for Rugby Challenge 4 was gameplay, and you won't notice it within your first few games, but the more you play the game, the more you'll notice these little subtle changes. Right off the bat, you'll notice that the game does feel more smooth and more responsive than the last. A few other things I noticed straight away: the passing felt stickier, if that makes sense. Like passes stuck more, you saw more interceptions for bad passes. Actually, I've kind of found out that interceptions are a little OP at the moment. I noticed support play. Every time I made a break, I tend to have someone inside or someone supporting me on the outside. And another big one I noticed was the repetitive phases. Now, if I played Rugby Challenge 4 like an actual rugby game, mainly not overcommitting players at the ruck, you'll notice the more subtle changes around the ruck, like forwards being the main players to enter the ruck and forwards setting up around the ruck if they're available. As for defense, it feels same, you know. I haven't noticed much difference in defense while I'm controlling players. Goal line defense is exactly the same. I really hoped that they'd at least address goal line defense. You can still pretty much get tackled before or after you cross the try line, and it'll 99% of the time be a try, unless you trigger a held up animation, which is still kinda rare in my opinion. If they could, and in my opinion I think they should, make the held up animations more frequent, especially if you're being tackled before crossing the try line. Another thing I noticed fairly quickly was player positioning, especially in defense. It's great to see the defense more spread out. In attack, your scrum half is typically the guy dishing the ball out from the ruck, your fly half always being in his position unless you drag him into the ruck yourself. There are several more under the hood subtle changes to gameplay that you may not notice in your first few games, like I said, but those little changes in my opinion are why the game feels smoother, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it's the smoothest game ever, but you know, it's an improvement from the last. If you want to see an actual list of gameplay improvements, I'll leave the links in the description. Wicked Witch actually made a little post on the Wicked Sports forum. So for a brief rundown on the mechanics and the functions of the little mini games throughout the game, the ruck, the maul, the scrum, the line out, and even goal kicking all function the same as previous games. Coming into Rugby Challenge 4, I was expecting similarities, but not carbon copies of the past. Mostly the ruck system and the goal kicking I was expecting either reworked or brand new systems or control schemes. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty much like the last game. So my opinion on functionality overall is I'm a little disappointed with the rucking system, the scrum, and the goal kicking in particular. The ruck not so much, but goal kicking and scrum times definitely need to be looked at. Whether it's possible to throw in a whole new goal kicking system, I'm not going to hold my hopes up for it, but the current system, the kicking at least, isn't good in my opinion. As for the newest feature to gameplay, set plays, I reckon they did an outstanding job on their first attempt at set plays. It really does function well, and I'm a little surprised that it works as good as it does. It's given attacking rugby a little bit more depth. I will say this though, it is quite buggy at times with players overrunning their lines, or even the decoy runners, they tend to overrun, so maybe cut back on that. They should make it more flexible so it's easier to, or so it's possible to ad-lib offset plays, because let's get real here, once everyone plays the game and learns them, they're going to be super predictable, especially if you can see your opponent's running routes. A little side note for that, we need the option to turn those off. But yeah, I can't really fault set plays. It's a really good addition to the game, and it actually functions really well as well, so kudos to them for set plays. What else can I say about gameplay? The main thing I can say is that at first I never noticed it, but I think it's because the game felt way too similar to the last, but there have been significant changes there. It's definitely a step in the right direction, but I'd be lying if I said I'm not disappointed and that I wasn't expecting more of an improvement. Is it fun to play? Fucking oath, it's fun to play. That's pretty much where I'm at with gameplay in its current state. So that brings me to the biggest issue with gameplay, and that is the AI. First of all, has it improved from the last? I'd say slightly it has, but far too often have I seen the AI play some stupid rugby. So I currently play on hard and pro, and I'm often seeing the AI continually attempt to run the ball out of their own 22, which, isn't the smartest option. Eventually they run into a turnover. I've also seen numerous times the AI make a break and get towards our 22 and then grubber it for some reason, or even bomb it. There's definitely been a few of those silly plays by the AI. I get that they want specific styles for Northern and Southern Hemisphere teams, but overall, the AI needs to be smarter, kick for corners, use the box kick more. They just aren't there yet with tactical kicking. Their running attack, however, I have noticed glimpses of brilliance with AI using support players really well, but overall, the AI doesn't feel quote-unquote smarter. Pretty much the tactical fundamentals of rugby is what I want to see more of from the AI. So visuals and animations, how does the game look? Actually, I'll nip this in the bud real quick. There are no new animations that I know of or that I've seen. Wicked Witch actually came out and said something like their primary focus for Rugby Challenge 4 was to fine-tune gameplay and to expound on the current engine, which, if you've been keeping up with all of my Rugby Challenge 4 pre-release content, we kind of expected that would be the case. So yeah, no new animations that I've seen at least. However, I would love for them to get rid of some of the existing ones. Mainly try scoring, because there are some awful try scoring animations, and hidden among all the awful ones, there are some really dope diving animations that we never see in game, but I'm pretty sure we've all seen them in the pre-game lobby. So yeah, we need more of those spectacular dives, especially the corner dives. I've seen at least 2 different, or maybe 3, very realistic looking corner dives that I've never seen in game, but like I said, I've seen in the pre-game lobby. And if it's possible to delete an animation, I think everyone would agree with me to get rid of the animation where he puts the ball down and swan dives. God, I hate that animation. Yeah, it isn't that important, but that's my 2 cents on the animations. Yeah, so visually the game looks decent. Photorealistic players look good, but the skin tones and the textures on some players look really bad and still need adjusting. Like almost sickly some players look. The last piece of visual improvement, or it could be a new feature altogether that I've noticed, and actually I really love this, it is the dynamic time and lighting system. I'm not sure if that's the proper name for it, but playing in the evening and watching the lighting slowly change to night and the stadium lights turn on is really cool, and I thought it's one of the better quote-unquote systems that I've seen added to the game. Evening matches are probably my favorite games to play now. So overall, visually, the game is a massive improvement from Rugby Challenge 3, but lets itself down with what seems to be a lack of optimization, or I don't know, it's real grainy at times, and little things like skin textures. It's kind of off-putting, but I already know that kind of stuff can be patched. So lastly, customization. I'll be honest, I haven't dabbled that deep into it, but I know that the player creator is the best it's been, the most detailed it's been, and it looks like they've got like hairstyles and stuff from other games like AFL Evolution. So that's pretty cool to see. It looks like you can put all those, like the customization suite, you can put it all under one roof and transfer it from game to game, which is actually, like I said, it's dope to see. Team creator pretty much looks like the same from previous games. The new kit creator, however, that's a major letdown for me, only because I half expected there to be a logo creator among the kit creator, but yeah, it's very similar to Rugby 20's kit creator, but it just has more options. Now, whether they can add to the current kit creator and maybe throw in a logo creator or something, that would be dope, but in its current state, I'm not really a fan of it, if I'm honest. It's very, very limited, and it feels like something they've quickly slapped together. I think from here on out, if you're going to put a kit creator in the game, you really need a logo creator paired with it, so fans can truly create knockoff versions of their teams that aren't in the game. So yeah, the player creator, I would like to see that amount of depth put into the kit creator, an added logo and an added boot creator or something. As for the various game modes, for longevity's sake, I think it's in a good spot. The Beer Pro I haven't played yet, but I am currently going through a coach career mode, and other than player progression not being a thing, I'm really enjoying it for the most part. I specifically like the main menu for career mode, how they give you the latest news, and it shows you things like top try scorers and whatnot. Little details like that, and the scheduling, on the scheduling screen, they've got little details in there also, like history about your previous encounters with certain teams, and I really appreciate those things. Whether it's new or not, I'm not too sure, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I also know that there are more features to come for career mode. We don't know how drastic the changes will be, but I am excited for it. So my overall thoughts about the Rugby Challenge 4 Early Access version 1, I guess. It's good, I'm having fun, but I was expecting more, so should you buy it? That's up to you to decide. I know this little review kind of dragged on longer than I thought it would, and was all over the place, but whether it helps you make up your mind or not, that's cool. Also keep in mind that this is still early access, the beginning of early access version 1.01, and we don't really know just how drastic changes will be. If you're holding off still, just give it a few updates. As always, if you want to see more Rugby Challenge 4 content, or more content in general, be sure to run it straight at that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you later.